Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my official review of Clash in Paris 2025. We're going to go through every single match. I'm going to tell you what I liked, what I didn't like, do I agree with the results, and more importantly, where I think storylines can go from here. Now, if you are looking for my other review with footage so that you can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about, that's going to be over on patreon.com/SatiZap. I obviously can't post that version of the review here because it would just get blocked due to copyright, so go check it out. There's a link in the description or a link in the pinned comment. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm incredibly confident that you are going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, that's enough. Let's talk about Clash in Paris. All right, so before we fully dive into things on a match-by-match basis, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about. First and foremost, did you look at how long that show was? That was a nearly 4-hour WWE Premium Live event, and I'm wondering if maybe Clash in Paris was a preview of what we can come to expect when WWE hosts their Premium Live event on ESPN. And I say this because you have to remember, WWE fans in the United States, for the most part, not everybody, are now going to have to pay significantly more money to get WWE premium shows every single month, going up from the $8 a month on Peacock to the $30 a month on ESPN. And if I'm a WWE fan in the United States that's going to be paying more than 3 times what I'm currently paying, I would hope to get more bang for my buck. And maybe WWE knows this. Maybe this was WWE testing the waters with more matches on the card, with longer matches on the card, because every single match went at least 13 minutes, with a good chunk of them going over 20 as well. And just longer WWE Premium Live event run times in general. I'm sure they know that a lot of people are upset about the significant price increase, and maybe this is a way to mitigate that anger by giving fans more than what they would come to typically expect on Peacock. Or that might have just been a final hoorah in Peacock, and because they were in Paris with a large crowd, they wanted to do a bigger show than normal. I don't know, but in my head, I'm thinking that this is maybe WWE extending their runtime for Premium Live events on ESPN moving forward. The other thing, of course, that I want to talk about is the crowd. This was an absolutely, no pun intended, phenomenal crowd the entire night. They were so loud the entire time, and to say loud is an understatement because we have loud crowds that make a lot of noise during the moments where you would typically make a lot of noise, but I say loud in that they were loud for everything. Like a mundane 2 count, these people were chanting and dancing all night long, and what was cool is that they didn't let up at all. They were just as loud at the beginning of the show as they were at the very end of the show, and I'm hoping that they can continue this energy to come back for Monday Night Raw and make this much noise for AJ Styles. Crowds like these can turn shows like Clash in Paris that have a lot of ups and downs, but turn it into a very memorable affair, because I'm going to be honest with you, there were matches on this card that if it wasn't for the crowd in Paris, I would have thought were just boring and I wouldn't have remembered at all whatsoever, but the energy of the crowd allowed me to stay engaged even in a boring match. That's the beauty of an amazing crowd, can turn the tides of a show entirely. So huge shout out to the Paris crowd. You guys were absolutely amazing. Please promise me that you're going to continue to be this amazing on Monday Night Raw. Okay, now let's jump into things on a match-by-match basis. First up, we had Roman Reigns defeating Bronson Reed. This was one of those matches that was 20 plus minutes, as the show started with a 22-minute match between Roman Reigns and Bronson Reed. Now, the match itself, I don't think was particularly amazing, but again, the crowd made it feel as if it was amazing, because all of the buildup of Roman finally being able to topple Bronson Reed over in most cases would be the boring portion of the match, but because the crowd was so insane the entire time, that was also fun, because that was the blueprint of this match. Bronson Reed working over Roman Reigns for a huge portion of the match until we can get the big Superman moment from Roman Reigns as he makes his big comeback. I thought overall they had decent chemistry. I think for me what was a little bit jarring is that I haven't seen Roman Reigns work with like a big giant monster in a really long time, since what, maybe like Braun Strowman at the early portions of his tribal chief run in the 2020s. Yeah, I know that he worked Bronson Reed earlier at SummerSlam, but that was a tag team match with more agile guys allowing for more fast-paced, frantic frantic action. This really was a slow, grounded match of the big kaiju Bronson Reed working over the hero, the tribal chief Roman Reigns, until he can make his big comeback. And I know that that isn't a match that people love in terms of choreography, but I think that it ultimately did the job in terms of getting the crowd excited for the big final moments as Roman Reigns hits the top rope Samoan drop, hits the spear, and picks up the victory. I would say that my favorite spot in this match was Roman going for the spear and then like almost like getting caught midair, almost as if like he got hit with the spear and Bronson's like, I didn't feel it. And then he catches him and puts him into a Batista bomb. I thought that that moment was awesome. So I thought that it was an okay match, made a lot of fun by the actual crowd. As an opener, because of the crowd, I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but I don't think that this is some like monumentally good match by any means. What was fascinating about this is how long the post-match segment of this was, because the match ran for 20 minutes, but the post-match ran for about 16, because a bunch of things happened. First, you had Roman Reigns getting his shoes back from Paul Heyman, and then putting Paul Heyman in the guillotine, and then Roman goes to the outside, celebrates on top of the tables, only for a Braun Breaker to come out of nowhere from the side and put him through the table with a nasty spear. And then Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker continued to beat down Roman Reigns. Jey Uso seems to not care that Roman Reigns is getting beat up. Eventually, after like 8 minutes of Roman getting murdered, he finally comes down to try and make the save, but then he gets taken out. He gets his ribs hurt, because of course he got his ribs hurt. Every freaking babyface under the sun these days needs to have bandaged up ribs before their big match. But this was a way to write off Roman Reigns, not just for the future, but also write him off from the main event, because during the pre-show, Roman said that he was going to go out with Jey to keep the vision in check and make sure that it was an even playing field. So we didn't get to see Roman in the main event at all, and I don't know that we're going to see him for a while, because I'm assuming he's going to go film Street Fighter. And the aftermath of this is what led to a lot of speculation, because there was then even more post-match in the back with Adam Pearce banning the members of the Vision, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, from the building. They weren't allowed to be part at all of the main event. If they did, they would get suspended without pay. And then, of course, that left the ever-looming question for the rest of the show: who was going to help Seth Rollins, if anybody? Of course, everyone's gears were moving about, are we going to have a new member of the Vision? People were speculating on my live stream left, right, and center, and we did get somebody. We'll talk about that here in a second. Now, here's kind of like my general thoughts on this. I'm going to be honest with you. I really think that Bronson Reed should have won this. Now, the Vision ultimately did stand tall to end the show, which was a very similar model to what they ran at SummerSlam, with the Vision losing to start SummerSlam and then standing tall at the end of it, which kind of erases the loss at the beginning in the eyes of many people. But to me, it wasn't about like, oh, you know, the Vision gets hurt with Bronson Reed not winning here. I think Bronson Reed is just really hurt here, because Bronson Reed finally found a way to stand out within the Vision with the whole Shula Fala thing, the tribal thief gimmick. And now that not only he doesn't have that, but now they have another big star within the Vision, it kind of creates a little bit of a logjam that kind of makes it difficult for me to see how Bronson Reed can really shine within this group, which is why I thought that he should have probably won here and probably done it in a really dominant way and written off Roman Reigns in a really dominant way. But he still got to get his heat back. He took out Roman, but I don't know that it's the same. I think it would have been better had he actually won. I promise a huge chunk of these matches are not going to take that long to review. It's just that between the match and the post-match segment, that was literally the whole first hour of this 4-hour show. Dude, this just is never worth it. That is insane. It's shaking. The camera is shaking.
Again, trying to one-up it.
Oh! Holy Jeff Hardy, Batman. B-M-E. Oh! That was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, available exclusively over on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're looking at the SummerSlam 2000 tables, ladders, and chairs match. It's a crazy one. The match with the legendary crowd that was Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles in Backlash France. A recent classic between Oba Femi, Trick Williams, and Javon Evans at NXT Stand and Deliver. The street fight between Becky Lynch and Tiffany Stratton at NXT No Mercy. And a Texas Texas death match over an AEW collision between Hangman Adam Page and Christopher Daniels. You'll be getting all of this, plus the Raw review, SmackDown reviews, and every single series that we do that has footage that we can never post here because it would just get blocked due to copyright. So go check it out, link in the description or link in the pinned comment. If you try the Patreon even for just 1 month, I'm incredibly confident that you're gonna fall in love with it. If you're already a patron, thank you so much for your support. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do what we do as often as we do it, but let's get you back to the video. Now let's move on to the WWE Tag Team Championship match of the Wyatt 6 going up against the Street Profits. This was one of the shorter matches of the night, and it was still 13 minutes, which is such a breath of fresh air to be able to say that every single match got to have its time under the sun, including some of the mid-card, low mid-card, like Sheamus, Rusev, and the tag team division. I thought this match was okay. I'm gonna be honest with you, like when it comes to the frantic tag team action that we're used to from the SmackDown tag team division, you're never gonna get as high a quality match when you include Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy, because some of the other teams that are in this division, like DIY, Fraxium, Motor City Machine Guns, Los Garzas, are just so much more fast-paced, cleaner, and just generate more of a fun blueprint for their matches. And we're just not gonna get that from the Wyatt 6. But just because we're not gonna get the super fast, high-octane tag team action that we're used to from the SmackDown division doesn't mean that this was a bad match. I thought that it was okay. Once again, an okay match made better and more enjoyable because of how hot the crowd was. The crowd, I'm gonna be honest with you, really carried the first like 2 hours of this show. The match really got good in like the final sequence, where you've got like all of the stuff going on in the outside. Dawkins just body checking Joe Gacy into the barricade. You have Big Red trying to get in to front Dawkins. Then you have out of nowhere, out of the jumping into the corner, you have the big sunset flip from Montez Ford, and then Montez Ford's about to get back in the ring, but then the witch Nikki Cross grabs him, which opens up the door for Uncle Howdy to then get involved and hit his sister Abigail, throw him back into the ring, and then Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis hit their finisher, which is like this like tandem power bomb to pick up the victory. So like pretty formulaic heel finish there. Nothing that shocks me or surprises me. What does weirdly shock me is that the Street Profits were doing a whole sponsorship for Borderlands, the video game. They had a really awesome Borderlands inspired attire for their entrance. Usually, like if you're the one that's like there for the sponsor, I would have thought that they would have had the sponsorship people win, but that's really not that important. Okay match, made fun by the crowd is ultimately what I'm trying to say. Hell, whatever, I'll give it a thumbs up, but I would say that this is lower quality that I come to expect from this amazing tag team division on Friday Night SmackDown. Next up, we have Becky Lynch defending her Women's Intercontinental Championship against Nikki Bella. Folks, I am happy to say that this was easily, without a single shadow of a doubt, the greatest women's match in the history of Clash in Paris. This thing, no other women's match can even come close to it. Of course, the joke here is that there's never been any other women's matches at Clash in Paris. This was the only one, and it wasn't very good. Listen, in terms of the build-up to Nikki Bella versus Becky Lynch, I liked portions of it and disliked other portions of it. Let me explain. I like the portions when they were cutting promos on each other. I thought that was a lot of fun. There's some good roasting happening back and forth. What I didn't like, and it should have been a red flag for me going into this match, was like when they would actually like brawl with each other. I always felt like during these brawls on Monday Night Raw, where I would always just come out saying, oh, that wasn't great. The chemistry between these two physically isn't fantastic. And unfortunately, I feel like it was a lack of chemistry that carried into this match in Clash in Paris, because this was not good. It got better towards the end of the match. There was even a little bit of chain wrestling and back and forth counters with one another, with Nikki Bella putting on her own version of the STFU, and then kind of like countering and doing some roll throughs back and forth as she tries to get out of this disarmor. There's stuff to maybe like, but like for the most part, this was not very good. The chemistry between them was just simply not there. But again, I go back to what I was saying earlier, where the Paris crowd carried the first 2 hours of the show, because the Paris crowd made me pay attention to this. I think under most circumstances, under like 99.999% of crowds around the world, the crowd would have been dead because there was not much to like about this. But the French crowd, even though there was a bit of a stinker being put in front of them, they made the most of it and they made noise. They were chanting, they were singing. And because of that, that energy kind of translated and transferred itself over to me. So I was engaged in this match, not because of the work that was happening in the match, but because of the crowd. Now, I'm not going to say and sit here that I'm disappointed that this wasn't a good match. I wasn't expecting one. It'd be like me complaining that, you know, a 7-Eleven hot dog isn't a particularly like delicious Michelin star meal. I knew what I was getting myself into with Nikki Bella versus Becky Lynch. It wasn't great, but the crowd made it fun. In terms of what's next, well, with Nikki Bella, I don't know, probably more like mid-card feuds. Maybe her and Julia somewhere down the line. I don't know, because this match was kind of uninspiring. I don't know that I want to see that either, though. In terms of Becky Lynch, I'm gonna hold off until the main event. Next up, let's talk about Rusev versus Sheamus in a good old-fashioned Donnie Brooke match. This right here, this is where the show starts to pick up. The final 2 hours of Clash in Paris, the final 3 matches of Clash in Paris are genuinely so much fun. And all 3 of them are very different from one another. So they all offer a different style of professional wrestling and a different style of energy as well for you to be able to sink your teeth into. I went into this match thinking that this was going to be a potential match of the night contender. And once the dust settled from this match, I said with confidence, this is so far the best match of the night, better than all the 3 matches that had happened before it. I will say the first like 10 minutes of the match, I was a little bit wanting more. I didn't feel like they were using the stipulation to the best of their ability. It felt kind of slow. They were really just, in terms of weapons, going back and forth with like a chair and a kendo stick. The feeling of this being like a Donnie Brooke bar brawl wasn't there until like the last half of the match. I actually don't think that's a controversial statement. I think a lot of people would agree with that. But it is in that back half where we just have a beautiful meat on meat slobber knocker because these two absolutely go to town on each other. Of course, the spots get nasty and brutal. We had a bunch of steel step spots. We had a nasty spot where Rusev put Sheamus through like the siding of this bar. We had the crazy moment where Sheamus does a white noise off the top of like a bunch of stacked barrels through 2 Slim Jim tables. Friggin' awesome. And that was like the second stage of the match where they were just hitting each other with like crazy spot after crazy spot after crazy spot. But then there is more to it. There's like a third phase, and it was in this third phase where these guys really won me over, and it made it feel like a proper war between these two as opposed to just like a bunch of cool spots. Because in like the final 5 minutes of the match, you had like the 2 warriors standing up on opposite sides of the ring. You have Rusev with the shillelagh, Sheamus standing up, and as Rusev goes to hit him with the shillelagh, Sheamus with like a beautiful, nasty to the temple broke kick out of nowhere. And in typical WWE fashion, I was like, that's the end of the match. Like, that's where you end the match. But no, we had an amazing kick out there from Rusev. And because they were building up to like, you know, Rusev hitting Sheamus with the shillelagh, I thought that once that kick out happened, there was a moment where Rusev gets a hold of the shillelagh. I'm like, okay, that's going to be it. Once he hits him with the shillelagh, that's it. The match is over. Hits him with the shillelagh, and no, another crazy kick out from Sheamus, and the crowd, without AJ Styles there, starts chanting phenomenal, 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 because the crowd was engrossed. The crowd was in love with this match. They were chanting fight forever, and they had me hooked. They had me hooked, and I love the finish as well because it brought back that shillelagh that was being, I guess, booked to be like this really strong weapon that could change the narrative of the match, as Rusev grabs the shillelagh, puts Sheamus in the accolade, a move that hasn't really worked on Sheamus in their buildup at all to this match or in this match. But with the shillelagh, he even puts it in even deeper as he makes Sheamus fall back, like basically like completely flat on his back as the accolade was on, and Sheamus taps. Like, I thought maybe that he would pass out. I thought maybe that was a possibility, but nah, WWE actually had Sheamus tap out. This guy does not tap out. I love this finish. Yes, the like opening of the match a little bit slow as they kind of like worked their way into the big spots. Then we had big spot after big spot, and then like the really fun narrative-driven finish was a great way to really just put the ending of this match. This was a certified banger. And up to this point, the best match of the night. This match rocked. This is a thumbs up. In terms of what's next, one of the things that I said in my predictions video going into this is that this match is going to be so much fun that people are just going to want more of it. So I'm going to keep it simple. Give me Rusev versus Sheamus. Again. Next up, we have Logan Paul taking on John Cena. And fellas, let me be the first one to tell you that this is the most fun match of the night. Maybe not the best. I think that could still be Rusev and Sheamus. But in terms of just overall fan service, this match had it all. In their own accord, I would say that John Cena and Logan Paul put together a really, really fun match with one another. I don't think that it's John Cena's best match of his career or anything like that, but a very good match and a match that I would be happy to get during John Cena's retirement tour. So there's that. Logan Paul had a great performance. I would say that this might be Logan Paul's best performance from an in-ring perspective thus far in his young WWE career. And one of the things that made this match as successful as it was in my eyes was that it knew what it needed to be, and it didn't try to be anything else but that. It knew that, hey, we need to find a way to get the crowd even more electric than they already are, because if we just rely on the electricity of the crowd, which is easy for you to be able to just coast through with how electric this crowd is, that match wouldn't stand out. They needed to find a way to make an already hot crowd like into a burning blaze, and they found the best way to do that. And it works with every fandom ever, whether it's anime, whether it's a sports fan. Something that will always work is cheap fan service, and that's what we got in this match. A bunch of fan service after fan service after fan service. If you go back and watch this match, I couldn't honestly tell you how many callbacks to different John Cena matches, different John Cena opponents, different people from like different eras of WWE that they reference in this match with all of their different moves. I actually had to make a list here because they reference AJ Lee with her submission move as Logan Paul put it on John Cena. I don't know how many times they reference frickin' Cesaro in this match with like the European uppercut there from Logan Paul. Logan Paul does a zigzag, which, by the way, if you notice, Cesaro and Dolph Ziggler were the two people that John Cena mentioned during his pipe bomb. Hello, Nick Nemeth. Hello, Claudio Castagnoli. So it was kind of cool to have those people be referenced here. Baron Corbin was referenced in this match with John Cena hitting an end of days. If you want to count Adam Page getting referenced by Logan Paul with his buckshot lariat, we had a Jeff Hardy swanton bomb. You could say that they referenced Christopher Daniels and or Tommaso Ciampa with the fairy tale ending. Rob Van Dam, Mark Henry, and of course the big one, the big fan service moment, fan service of AJ Styles, which was such an obvious move that they needed to do, especially once you caught on that the routine of this match was just nothing but fan service. I caught on to it like halfway through the match. I was like, John's going to do a Styles Clash so we can get that phenomenal chant, so that we can get, like what I said, from a hot crowd to a burning blaze of a crowd as John Cena rolls through from Logan Paul trying to hit an AA, hits a Styles Clash, and of course the building goes absolutely freaking bananas. It was a combination of objectively fun match between these two, with added just like simple sugar, spice, and everything nice of fan service to make that crowd erupt throughout the entire match. But even without all of this fan servicey stuff to really help the crowd get to level 17 out of 10, this match still would have had the hottest crowd of the night, as they were just in love with John Cena. Hell, instead of the phenomenal chant, we had John Cena, la 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 la. We had another awesome song that they were chanting throughout the entire match. This was a good match made great by the hot crowd. But you have to give it to Logan Paul and John Cena because they knew how to play the crowd the entire time. They had the crowd in the palm of their hands, and they massaged them and they maneuvered them throughout that crazy journey that was that match. And no shenanigans, no cheating attempt even from Logan Paul. Just Logan Paul losing clean to John Cena. That's it. 1, 2, 3. I really enjoyed this. I think that you will too. I think that it's going to be one of those matches that when we talk about like most memorable crowds, we're going to be talking about this match as well. Where there are some question marks is the lack of Brock Lesnar. I think everyone, their mom and their dog, was expecting Brock Lesnar here in some way, shape, or form, whether it was during the match to maybe help Logan Paul win, to set up John Cena versus Brock Lesnar, or post-match to set up John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. But when they announced that the Fatal 4-Way was the main event, I think that went out the window for a lot of people because I stopped expecting Brock Lesnar once this was removed from the main event. Not that it was ever technically in the main event, I just assumed it was gonna be, and I think a lot of you did too. But yeah, good shit, thumbs up, I like this. And last but not least, we have to, of course, have to talk about the main event, the Fatal 4-Way between Seth frickin' Rollins, who defeated CM Punk, Jey Uso, and LA Knight. Because there were so many like entrances of guys where entrances are kind of like part of like their identity and why fans love them so much. Although this was a 24-minute match, if you include all the entrances, I swear to God, we went close to like 45 minutes with this match. Honestly, maybe even longer. I think it's worth to go double check to see just how long things were between like the opening of Jay's entrance and everything that happened there in the end. Before we get to the ending, I'll be the first one to tell you I thought that this match was fine. I didn't think that it was fantastic. I think that it was better than, say, like the Royal Rumble Fatal 4-Way between AJ Styles, Roman Reigns, LA Knight, and Randy Orton, but not like leagues better. This is not going to be a main event that is remembered because of the in-ring action and the drama between the four guys. It's going to be a main event that is remembered because of the swerve ending with the new member of the Vision. In terms of the match choreography, almost exactly what I expected, which would be Seth Rollins getting his shit pumped by the three baby faces, all taking turns to take out Seth Rollins. Funny enough, in them taking turns taking out Seth Rollins, it led to animosity because, oh no, it's my turn to beat up Seth Rollins. No, it's my turn to beat up Seth Rollins. And that's kind of what eventually drove a wedge between all three of these guys. Like literally, like I would say like 3/4 of this match is just Seth Rollins getting beat up by all three, two or some babyface somewhere in the ring, outside of the ring, or even within the fans. In terms of cool, memorable spots, there was one that didn't particularly land very well, which was a repeat of what happened on Monday Night Raw with CM Punk accidentally putting LA Knight through a table. They kind of did the same thing, but LA Knight putting CM Punk through the table, except the table didn't break. They went full I am with the table on CM Punk. The craziest spot of the match definitely goes to LA Knight doing the big elbow drop from the top rope to the outside through the French announce table onto Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins moves out of the way and LA Knight is basically dead for the rest of the match here. I was really liking where the finishing sequence was going as well after like 20 some odd minutes of this match going, where Seth Rollins sees CM Punk in the ring and like screams at him and says, I hate you, I hate your family, and I'm gonna make sure that this is your last match in the WWE. Get out of my company. He goes out, he grabs a chair. Before he goes in to put away CM Punk, he looks at Jey Uso, who's down on the outside, hits him with a stomp, looks at LA Knight, who's just waking up from the table spot, hits him with a stomp, and then goes in the ring, puts CM Punk's head in between the chair to stomp him and I guess attempted murder, kill him there. CM Punk gets out, hits a GTS. Then we have like the moment where he like bounces off the rope, falls back into CM Punk so that they could hit it again. He's about to pick up the victory and hit the second GTS, but then a masked figure, as always in the WWE, comes behind from CM Punk and hits the low blow on him. And lo and behold, it was none other than her hot husband's hot wife, Becky Lynch. And you know what's funny? Throughout the entire night, the live stream, we're all trying to predict, is it going to be Theory? Is it going to be Tony D'Angelo? Tony D'Angelo played the fans by saying that he was in Paris, like going into the main event. Some people thought it was going to be Ilya Dragunov. Hell, I saw people thinking that it was going to be LA Knight, Jey Uso within the same match itself. Somebody who, funnily enough, in the chat said, what about Lash Legend? I didn't think it was going to be Lash Legend, but when they said that, I was like, oh my God, why are we all only predicting men? Why aren't we thinking of women potentially being the fourth member of the Vision, similarly to how Rhea Ripley was the member that was added to the Judgment Day when we all thought it was going to be the likes of like Tommaso Ciampa. And yeah, dude, it ended up being a woman. It ended up being Becky Lynch. And I do think that this is her joining the Vision because during the celebration, she's like, this is the Vision, this is the future. By the way, I forgot to mention that from the low blow, that Seth Rollins hit the stomp and picked up the victory. I'm pretty sure you assume that Seth Rollins won this with the debut of Becky Lynch in the Vision. I saw a lot of people in my chat kind of disappointed by the fact that it wasn't like somebody that could be turned into a new main eventer. Rather, it's like a known commodity. I think that it being Becky Lynch makes a tremendous amount of sense. I agree with the sentiment that it would have been a lot more uncharted waters and different if it was somebody like an Austin Theory and Ilya Dragunov, all of the usual suspects that were being thrown around. But in terms of like what makes sense right now, I actually think Becky Lynch is the right call. Now, in terms of what's next, I think it's obvious, and I think it's at the top of everybody's head. I think it's the return of AJ Lee, not only because of what happened there with Becky Lynch, that's obvious reason number one, but because of what Seth Rollins said before all of this took place, that I hate you and I hate your family. They brought the family into this now, and CM Punk's family is former WWE Divas champion AJ Lee, who has to come back and step up for her man to take out the man, Becky Lynch. I don't know when it'll be. If I'm predicting betting man, because I see a lot of people saying it could be for WrestlePalooza, maybe as early as this episode of Monday Night Raw. I'm going to be a little bit more poetic, and I'm going to say that the return of AJ Lee happens at Survivor Series War Games. Why? Because that's the exact same show that CM Punk made his long-awaited return to the WWE. So it'd be kind of poetic to have AJ Lee also make her long-awaited return to the WWE at Survivor Series War Games. Not my favorite match of the night, but it was still a fun match. Again, made even better by the crowd. The big swerve, of course, happened in this. I am going to give this a thumbs up overall. I think the show as a whole was okay, with some really high spots like John Cena and Logan Paul and the Donnie Brooke match. But again, it goes from okay to like good because this crowd did that. Like the crowd, guys need to take a bow. You guys need to pat yourselves on the back. You guys were amazing. And again, I hope you guys are this amazing during Monday Night Raw. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this review. I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget about the review that's over on Patreon with footage. Goodbye. Get out of here.